we see sometimes, this is, I'm Deirdre talking. We see sometimes, we watch a movie or we see a special on TV and something happens. There's a moment where the actor dips into a greater reality. And when that moment happens, we call it magic, and we give those actors Academy Awards or a Tony or an Emmy. What the actor has to do to get to that place is extraordinary. It is a ripping apart of all layers of the ego and becoming naked and raw and courageous enough to be completely exposed and vulnerable. And when that happens, the magic comes through. And nobody knows what the magic is. They just say, well, they have the magic. No one knows what it is. But I know what it is. And that magic is light. That the light from the sister planet, the sister world, that light is peeping through the cells of that actor who has become a doorway by completely submitting. When I was studying acting, I had a wonderful, very famous teacher who said to me, all great acting is completely submitting to the text. And nobody knew what he meant. And I studied it for years. After about 10 years, long after I left him, I knew what he meant. I knew what he meant by submitting to the text. The text is simply a template or a window of you as the actor being the house for the light to do its magic. And when you completely submit to that character and you yourself get out of the way, magic happens. You don't have to prepare. You don't have to do an entire machination before you step on stage. It's like Laurence Olivier said, I don't know why all these actors are doing all this stuff in the wings. I just simply walk on stage and I'm the character. That walking on stage is a metaphor for all of us and all of you to begin to see yourself really as something separate from what you think of as who you are. And the question is, when you step onto the platform of life, who are you submitting to? Because you're submitting to somebody. When you're unconscious, you don't know who you're submitting to. When you're conscious, you make a stand and you say, I am. I submit to the light. I submit to God. I submit to virtue. I submit to the truth. I submit to bringing justice. I submit to serving others. I submit to a higher calling. I submit to a text sent from heaven, not the text of the ego pattern, which is destroying us. And when you fully submit, the light comes through. It's effortless. Which is why, as an actor, when you have that moment, it supports you for years until it comes again, because it's so magical. Most actors don't really know what happens when that magic happens. But a really gifted actor, a trained actor, knows how to hit that place more often than not. And those are the actors that have long lifespans of doing incredible roles one after another and transforming us. The same thing with writers. Those writers who have a deep understanding and have a craft know how to at least set the framework for that magic to happen. and they have long careers as writers. Those who don't have that craft might hit on it, but never be able to get it back because they don't really know what they did. They stumbled into it. So as a metaphysician, as a mystic, your work, so to speak, is to become a craftsman, to become an artisan of life, so that you have a technique for the light to exist in. Without technique, without a craft, you're chaos. You know, I think of when I was a dancer. It was all about technique. And you have to do the same bloody steps every morning for 30 years before you can be free and dance. And those same steps, every dancer from Topeka, Kansas, in Dolly's School of Twirl and Whirl, all the way to the Kirov Ballet of Russia, do the same steps. Their technique will be different, but it's the same. And that goes for life. Ask yourself, what is my technique? What is my craft? How am I channeling myself, and what do I submit to become a human being? Because you see, you are not human beings anymore. What we call human is not human. Human being is the exalted presence of God in the corporal world. But that's not how humans live. That's not how humans behave. Humans even have a warped idea of what God is, because the great wars are about God, which makes no sense. We are setting a template to become human beings. We are 30 years ahead of our time because we are working with the structures of light and the architecture of the mansions of light, which, yes, have a credence and have a connection to what we've learned in religion, but it is of itself not part of religion. It is from somewhere else. It is a language which has not yet been mapped into a world.